Hello, everyone, and welcome to Webinar Wednesday from TLC. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Ria Stark, and I'm the Digital Engagement Manager here at TLC. And recently, our webinars have focused on back to school and getting our school librarians and administrators ready for the year ahead. But today, we are switching gears a little bit to look at one of our other solutions, Carl Solution. It's one of our integrated library systems. At TLC, we have multiple solutions for different library types, and we're going to showcase some of the features that set Carl Solution apart from some of the others. So before I introduce our panelist, Joe, let me run through my usual reminders. First, we are live this afternoon, and thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us. And as a live participant, you have the opportunity to ask us questions. So if you think of anything throughout the presentation, please add that into the questions panel, and we'll get to those at the end. And if you would like to rewatch this webinar later or possibly share it with some of your colleagues, that is most encouraged. And we are recording, and the replay will be available tomorrow at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. And finally, before you log out, just be sure to grab those handouts. They're available from the handouts tab. All right, now please let me introduce Joe Reimers, our panelist for today. He's our sales engineer for Carl Solution. Joe, thank you so much for lending us your expertise.
Thanks, Ria. So let's take a look at what's new in Carl Solution. As Ria mentioned, I am the sales engineer for Carl Solutions. I'm also a librarian. Before we get into deep down into the software itself, I want to talk very briefly about Carl Solution in general, since some of you may not be all that familiar with it. As Ria mentioned, we do have multiple library solutions here at TLC. And Carl Solution is our solution for larger public libraries and consortia. It is full-feature traditional ILS. And when I say a traditional ILS, what I mean by that is it has the 5 traditional components: acquisitions, cataloging, serials, circulation, and a pack or discovery, all under one roof. Carl Solution also is very strong in terms of APIs and third-party integrations, and it's a hybrid web and client-based for staff side. All of our public-facing features are web-based. Staff is hybrid web and client. And when we talk about third-party integrations, it runs the whole gamut from discovery layers such as Aspen or BiblioCommons to overdrive integration. We, of course, integrate with hardware technologies such as TechLogic. And we've recently started focusing on other newer third-party products, including Patron Point for patron engagement purposes. So now with that, let's turn our attention to the live software.
Hey, Joe, while you're pulling up that live software, I do have a poll for our attendees. So in just a moment, you'll see on your screen a question asking whether or not you're looking for a discovery layer that groups bibliographic records. So yes, you want to be able to group titles, or no, maybe you like your traditional catalog, or if you're already using Carl Solution, maybe you already have a FRBRized catalog, or maybe you have no idea what we're talking about and are looking for the demo, so you can maybe answer this later on. So wherever you fall on that, please go ahead and answer that poll. Looks like we've got a split audience coming in. So this is really exciting what Joe is going to show us today for a FRBRized catalog or grouped titles. So it'll loop those bibliographic records all under one source. All right, looks like we have our results. Yes, 60% say they want that. Perfect. And 20% already have one. Awesome. And 0% like their traditional catalog. Awesome. Well, thanks, Joe. I'll let you take it over and I'll be back in a bit.
All right, thanks, Ria. So we're very proud of the work we've done with FRBR, and I'm going to show a very common example here. I'm going to start with Pride and Prejudice, because there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of different permutations and versions and variants of Pride and Prejudice available. The second entry here, Pride and Prejudice, is the authoritative Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice that we all know and love. And this is the demo catalog that I maintain. And so I've done a little bit of gamesmanship with it to hide things, or to highlight things, not to hide them. I don't want to hide them. The Pride and Prejudice we see right away is available in 7 different formats, and it pulls the format from the MARC record. This is one of the areas in which we do leverage that RDA capability. But we're pulling basic, brief, we highlight the ability to see all the formats available, but we also get basic common information and we get cover art. Going into the detail information, it generally, when we do that, it starts with the first entry on the left, but if I were to highlight a specific format, it would go into that specific format. So we're pulling summary information also from the MARC record, but more specifically from the trusted MARC record, which is the same as the cover art is coming from. The great part about this is that you as librarians can control what the trusted record is, where this summary information is coming from, where the cover art is coming from. Under normal circumstances, you would expect to see that the default cover art would be from a book, but we've made the decision in this case to choose a book on CD as the trusted record. We can also facet down on availability, series collection, media characteristics. All of those things remain available to you, but we are now able to break things down a lot more granularly. But within the result set, a very simple search lets us see everything all nice and tight and bundled. And Carl is intelligent enough to recognize when materials are not the same. So for instance, Carl recognizes this is Pride and Prejudice, the book, audiobook, ebook, etc. But it separates out the Keira Knightley series from the Colin Firth series. And then we have criticized or critique versions and other assorted versions that are otherwise distinguishable. Now, when I said that we have the ability within Carl to define the trusted records and describe things, we also have the power to group and to ungroup within the CarlX staff client. We're not going to go into that necessarily today, but what's important is that when we're looking at these, we can say these belong together and these do not. So for instance, looking at this Colin Firth version, and this is an error I've introduced on purpose, we notice that there's a book and there should not be a book attached to the Colin Firth version. And in detail, I can see that this is actually a manga version that does not belong with the BBC version. And so I have the ability to disassociate it from this version and create an entirely new version. And in a cataloging demo, I would demonstrate how that works. So we're very, very proud of what we've done with our FRBRization, and we continue to enhance and expand on that FRBRization. I want to show one other example, and this time it's from one of our customers' catalogs, Loudoun County. So I'll do a search on Bridgerton. And here, First Comes Scandal, a Bridgerton prequel. Once again, they have decided to use the book, or no, not the book on CD. They are using the e-audiobook as their trusted record. So again, the e-audiobook has the best looking display, looks better than the print version. So they've highlighted the e-audiobook for their cover art. And this is very common, and it's a really nice feature that Carl offers. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn my attention away from FRBR and switch over to our staff side interface, where we've got a couple of really exciting developments in Carl Connect Staff I want to highlight. But first, back to Ria.
Thanks, Joe. We do have one more poll going into this section, and that's whether or not you use mobile devices for your shelf lists or when you're pulling holds. So yes, you use tablets or maybe smartphones or laptops or whatever that mobile device looks like, or no, are you still printing your shelf lists? Maybe it's a combination of mobile and printing, or maybe you're not sure, don't work with shelf lists too often. And while those results are coming in, I'll share. I was talking with Joe yesterday about this, and I started in the library land as a page, and I printed so many pages for polling holds. It was probably 40 pages a day just of lists. And having mobile functionality was quite the game changer. I almost wish I was still working as a page to be able to have a tablet to take out into the stacks now. So very cool functionality that Joe's going to show in just a moment. All right, we have our results, and it looks like about 60% are still doing a combination and 20% are printing shelf lists. All right, for those of you still printing, this is a game changer. Pay attention. It is so cool. So, Joe, I'll turn it back over to you to be able to show that functionality.
All right, thanks, Ria. We've done quite a fair bit of work in Carl Connect staff recently. So for those of you who are not on the latest Carl release, this is going to be a little bit of a surprise. And for those of you who have not seen Carl before, or for whom it's been a while, this is brand new and exciting stuff. So we have a new login screen that I'm going to log in using my credentials. Carl has always allowed you to select your branch. This is really a library optional setting where you can associate a branch with a login, or you can choose your branch at the point that you log in. Because I do demos and have to move around a lot from place to place, I like to select my branch at the point of login, but other people may, who don't float around, who are always work from the same location, can have their location or their branch pre-assigned. So we've overhauled our front page to make it more easy to navigate. Everything that is highlighted in white is what is accessible to me right now. So we have, I have access to circulation and items and sneak peek at acquisitions. This is something that we're working on right now. There's not a whole lot to show, but I can get in there and do it. I also have access to discovery into my settings. We don't yet have access to utilities cataloging, serials, or web reports. That will be coming in the future based on my permissions, as well as how quickly we're able to build those out. Logging into circulation, Ria was just talking about those shelf lists. So I'm going to go in and show those first. We start with our fill list. And remember, I was just talking about being logged into, in my case, the Ayers library. So my fill list is focused on everything in the Ayers library. And I have a list of materials that are on hold, waiting to be picked up. Some are for this branch, some are for others. And there are one or two that are even set for multiple pickup locations. From within this interface, I can filter on what type of hold. I can also filter on location. So all of these are set for circ, but if I have other locations such as juvenile, or if I distinguish between fiction and nonfiction, I can go out with a tablet and limit it to a particular location, depending on how I have that configured. I can also filter on media type. So it's really very flexible based on how you have things configured. Going through here, and I do want to mention this is fully responsive, touchscreen, tablet friendly. So I come in here and I find a material that I'm looking for, highlight it, and then I have the ability where I can say it's found. I can check it in. The difference between saying found and checked in is when I find it, then it's flagged as having been found and I have it on a cart. If I check it in, that triggers the process for notifications, printing the hold slips, and so on and so forth. So we generally recommend you find it until you're ready to take it to the hold shelf, for the hold shelf for processing directly. Item detail allows you to look at specific item information. Fill with is a cool feature where if there are multiple items on shelf in the same location, rather than selecting the specific item as indicated by the barcode, you can just grab one, fill with, scan in that barcode, and it will replace that pull. And the last piece is, if I flag it as not found, then it adds it to what we call the wander list. And we call it the wander list because it's the list of items that have wandered off. So within the wander list in here, again, we have the ability to highlight, and I'm going through looking for, okay, where is it? I don't see it. The status is not on shelf. If I find it, I can check it in. If I go far enough and still am unable to find it, eventually I will probably want to withdraw it because it is well and truly missing. And of course, I have the ability, as before, to narrow on search type, narrow on location, and media. We also have the ability here to view damaged items. So our Carl Connect staff includes damaged item functionality, which I'll show what that looks like very, very briefly in just a few minutes. But with damaged items, I have the ability to add damaged items to the list simply by scanning a barcode, or again, at the point of check-in. And when materials are checked and damaged, I have the ability to take a number of actions. So I can add a note to them, I can withdraw them from the collection, or I can delete them from the list and say, no, it's actually okay. And that is the dime tour of our stacks, pull lists, fill lists, and damaged items list. Again, fully tablet optimized. You can take it with you, go out in the stacks, and save on the amount of paper that you use. And talking about the damaged items, this is our circulation desk check-in feature. Checking in a damaged item is as simple as highlighting the damaged item, scanning the barcode, and Carl takes care of all the rest. And specifically by taking care of all the rest, what Carl does is it changes the status to damaged. It prevents any holds from getting triggered, and it puts it in a suppressed state in Carl Connect Discovery or whatever discovery interface you have. So I'm here looking at this full list, and as mentioned, I am limited to Ayer's library. But what if I want to work in another library, or I need to switch for whatever reason, or I'm a floater? I can easily switch to another library with the drop-down menu, click OK, and now it's reloading it. And all of a sudden, I have a different fill list. It's as easy as that. And this is one of the other more recent developments in Carl Connect Discovery, is making it that easy to switch locations on the fly if I need to. So I can simply go to my branch menu, switch here, switch there. So I'm at central circulation. If I switch to Edgewater, click OK. Do I have anything at Edgewater? Yes. So this changes dynamically on the fly based on my changing branches. And my permissions are based on what branch I am in. So it's built around working in a specific branch. It's very workflow friendly. It is very user friendly. So that's that on fill lists and hold shelf manage, or on pull list management within Carl Connect staff. There is one other thing I'd like to highlight while we're talking about Carl Connect staff, and that is our ability to search. And this is something that I've learned. We talk about it, but I've also learned just through trial and error and experimentation. And that is searching patrons using the keyword search terms. So if I were to search for, say, Violet Bridgerton, we would expect to look for Carl to be able to find all the Violet Bridgertons that are in the system. So we do here see Violet Bridgerton. But in addition to Violet Bridgerton, we see Gregory and Hyacinth, who are Violet's children. And the reason they come up is because Violet is listed as their sponsor within the Carl system. So this is an easy way to search for family members, especially children of family members within Carl, so you can easily access everybody associated with the record. What if we get a little bit crazier and we'll do, and this is where you can tell it's a demonstration database. But what if we do 555-555-555-555? Fake phone number search. I want to find all the fake phone numbers in the system. Now Carl Connect staff is bringing up all the fake phone numbers in the system, all the 555-5555s that are coming up. And again, because Carl looks at the entire patron record when doing this search. So I could search for Denver, and I find all the patrons who are registered in Denver. But then I started playing with it. And so what happens if I do Denver delinquent? And now I'm able to pull up all of the delinquent users who are located in Denver. And you can really go to some pretty crazy depths with this, because the entire patron record is keyword searchable. So going in here, if it's in the patron record, it can be found. So we have a user ID, last names, it's looking at address information, it's looking at sponsors, it's looking at everything here in the patron record. So our keyword search for Carl Connect staff is really surprisingly powerful. And every time I poke around in it, I discover more and more and more things. And that's really one of my personal favorite elements to Carl Connect staff. We do have a couple of minutes here before the bottom of the hour. So I want to highlight a little bit that we're working on. So this is still very much in its infancy. But we now have the ability to search invoices and pull them up. So the advanced search is not live yet, but do I have them starting? No, I don't have CX. I'm trying to remember. Okay, I have forgotten how I have my, okay, I've forgotten my, I always use the same, right, so if I have an invoice number, I can pull it up, but I've forgotten how I pull it up, because I always use the same thing, but I thought they always start with CX, but apparently they don't. But we do have invoice search available, and we are working on enhancing that and making them more findable. And then our item management is also pulling up a unique bibliographic identifier. In this case, we are working with, this is one of our Kamer titles, and the ability to work with item information on the fly. I like to use this when I'm doing more in-depth damaged items maintenance, because I can change the status on the fly. So it'll be damaged, and I'll go back and I'll set it to on shelf or on shelf in process, or set an alternate on shelf display status. Again, very easily on the fly. And I can manually suppress directly from here. And if I want to, I can easily add an item. Again, all directly from within Carl Connect staff items management. So those are just a few of the really cool new things that we've got working in Carl Connect, or in Carl Solution. We have a new release coming out soon, and I'm looking forward to being able to share with you all of those new things that are coming. Back to you, Ria.
Thanks, Joe. That was great. I hope everyone got to see why I'm so excited about that tablet optimized version of the software. You can literally just take your tablet out and find your books and mark them off. And that was one of my favorite features for Carl Connect. All right, we have one final poll for everybody. This is the one we put at the end of every webinar, which is whether or not you would like to receive more information. So we'll leave that on screen for just a moment and open up the opportunity for questions. So if you do have questions you'd like to share, we have a little bit of time. You can add those into the questions panel. Otherwise, if you'd like us to follow up with you later, go ahead and hit that yes. Please contact me on the poll, and we'll be sure to be in touch afterwards. And while those are coming in, I did get a couple of questions. Joe, I'll start with this one. So the first question is whether or not the whole interface is available for a tablet, and specifically, can it be used for outreach or mobile patron registration?
Yes. In fact, it was built exactly for that. We started with a mobile first mindset and we started with an outreach mindset. And that was the genesis of Carl Connect staff, was precisely for that mobile outreach, registration, mobile circulation capability. And now we're building it out so that it will be, to make it a full circulation desktop replacement piece. But it was built to be truly responsive, truly mobile for that outreach. So that's really where that's where it was born. That's its DNA.
Perfect. And the follow-up to that, is it also optimized for RFID and potentially Bluetooth scanners, especially for that mobile outreach, being able to have add-ons?
Yes. Yep. It handles all of those. The mobile registration, in fact, I don't have my iPad set up to do that, but it's set up so that if we go into, actually, let me get out of my Q&A here. If I go back into the staff and go into circulation, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up a user. So actually, let me do. So if I pull up Fade Rautha, what I can do with him is we have the photo here. That photo, if I were to edit it, I can open a picture, and on a tablet, it would allow me to access the camera directly. I can take a photo with my iPad, and it will just load that photo directly here. And the user signature, the same thing. I can just scribble the signature right onto the tablet directly. This also works with a phone. It's a little bit small, but it does work with a phone.
Great. Thank you, Joe. And for those of you who want to see the full registration process that Joe is just highlighting there, we do have a webinar in our archives that covers all of patron registration from a mobile perspective. So be sure to check that out as well. We did get another question in here. This came in from when you were looking at the cover art in the FRBR catalog. It looked like you were able to choose which art you were using for the audiobook versus the book. The question is, how can you set that, or how can you talk through the way in which you set which cover art can be used?
Yeah, so talking through that very briefly, we look at the mark level of the record. So we take the best and newest mark record. So looking at the leader, looking at the encoding level, and the best record in the mark is what is chosen as the trusted record. And if there are multiple that have that same encoding level, we choose the newest of those. So what librarians will do to choose a particular one over the other, if they have a tie, is they will either promote one, or they will drop the encoding levels on the other ones. And that's how you do that little bit of manipulation on the back end.
Perfect.
So that's how the trusted record gets defined.
Thanks, Joe. I'm envisioning a future webinar on the cataloging side of Carl. All right, we do have one last question. So regarding the search, just to confirm, you said everything in the record is searchable. So they're able to find, you said, by phone number. What else are they able to search on?
What I was told is the only thing that we have not yet indexed is notes.
So everything, status, phone number, address. If you have a piece of information, you can find them.
Yes, if it's in the database, it's findable. The only thing we have not been able to get set up yet is notes, and I'm softly encouraging Ebony that that's something to think about seriously.
All right. That's all the questions that have come in so far. Joe, I'm going to have you go to the next slide, and we'll kind of talk through our final notes. So for those of you joining us today, thank you so much for your time. We do have another webinar coming up in just a couple of weeks. We are inviting Joe back to present on cybersecurity. This is going to be a good one. It's about ransomware attacks and what to do in the terrifying event that you get hacked. So great stuff. Be sure to come back. And that is up on our website at tlcdelivers.com/webinars. So you can start registering for that today. And tomorrow, the recording of this webinar will be available on that same website as well. And be sure to grab those handouts before you log out. And then the other thing I'll mention is TLCU. This is our annual user conference. So if you, like Joe, want notes to be added into, into the development, TLCU is the perfect opportunity to get those kinds of things prioritized. So our current customers can start registering for that at the website tlcu.live. So please go ahead and jump over there and be sure to register. And if you have already registered, we are doing unlimited pricing for your entire library. So make sure everyone at your library system who wants to attend also goes in and registers as well. All right, those are my reminders. Joe, thank you so much for lending your expertise to us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next webinar in just a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Rhea.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.